Hello, friends. My name is Steve, and happy Friday. Hope everyone had a fantastic week. Thank you for coming by for the Page Chewing Friday conversation. And tonight we have lots of special guests. I want to get an introduction from each of them. Christopher, will you kick us off with an introduction? Tell us about you and your channel.
Absolutely. Yeah, my name is Christopher Navo, and sorry about that. And I just started my BookTube channel about 6 weeks ago, called it is still technically my name, but it does have the subtitle of the next chapter, and just kind of got into this environment, of course, during late COVID time period. That's like, I think a lot of us hit BookTube and YouTube during that time period, and yeah, I've just kind of started watching some of the larger channels, and eventually that just kind of grew. And I was kind of like in a dark age of reading, so I just kind of got out of that a little bit. This BookTube's really helped me, really resurrect that. I mean, I do love a lot of these books. Most of these I have read, but it's just been a literally slow process. But now I've just kind of got back into the routine of reading. And then, yeah, and to go along with that, I'm also writing a fantasy novel, about maybe a little over a half done with my
Hmm.
first draft. And actually, believe it or not, even with the channel starting, I feel like I'm getting more writing done than I normally do. I think it's
Hmm.
just being surrounded by other writers on BookTube, and just it gets that creative going. Yeah.
You have to tell me your tricks.
Yeah, yeah. Well, part of it is I do have a little bit of luck with my day job. It's a work from home job, and it's not something that steadily needs my 100% focus. So I can it's hard to do writing during that time period, but I can do some reading
Hmm.
usually, because that I can easily interrupt. Writing once a minute, and I can't interrupt that. So yeah.
Hmm. Yes. And Josh.
Hey, I'm Josh, also known as Joshua Scott Edwards on the cover of my books. My first book is An Ocean of Others, which is a story about a ragtag group of people and non human people who investigate these monsters that turn into monsters when people die. Um, and they, the I'm doing a terrible job of selling it right now. uh, yeah, it's my first book, my debut. It's in SPFBO 9. I'm super excited about it. I've also got a serial called Grave of the Waiting, which is a sci-fi horror story. And I'm working on the sequel to An Ocean of Others. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Well,
Thanks for having me.
nice. Thanks for coming. And Chris.
Yes, my name's Chris Mohan. I'm a sometimes YouTuber, sometimes appear on Steve's channel. I don't know what this dark art Christopher's talking about in terms of having read the books that sit behind him. This is a foreign concept to me. I buy books, I put them on the shelf, and I have plans sometime in the near future to do something about that. But other than that, here we are, and I'm here for another Friday conversation. Very glad to be.
Nice. And Angela.
Hi, I'm Angela Boord, and I am an indie fantasy author. I write, oh well, you can see them back there. They're pretty big. I write very large epics, which are sort of historical, romantic. Fortune's Fool was a finalist in SPFBO 5, and Through Dreams So Dark is entered in SPFBO 9 right now, and I'm excited about it. It's been fun. This month is sort of chaos month in SPFBO. It's like this giant carnival, and it's been great.
It really is. What having been through SPFBO before, what advice would you give to someone like Joshua who's entered his book this time for 9?
Well, I guess for the first phase, like the first month is chaos, and it's gotten bigger like over the years, like, which is great. But after that first chaos dies down, there's like nothing. It's like this big chunk of waiting, and everybody's like, don't just try to forget about it for a couple of months, and then it'll pick back up. Around the last month is a big deal. So if you can just kind of like put it to the side and know it's out there, and then just kind of chill, then it's a lot easier to deal with. Like, but that's kind of my advice. Just enjoy the connections and all this stuff that comes your way because of SPFBO, because there's lots of people doing interviews out there, and there's lots of people just talking and connecting on social media and stuff like that, and that's really what SPFBO is about. So the review stuff is sort of anxiety producing, so it just has to kind of
That's good advice. Thank you.
But that doesn't go away. Now, this is your second SPFBO, is it? It just still is at maximum level of yes.
Yeah, well, you know,
Post-rise.
and putting the book in there, that was still nail biting, because especially this year, because it filled up, all the spots filled up in 41 minutes, which was nuts. Like when I did it back in 2019, it took almost 2 days. It was like, and we were like, wow, it filled up in like 36 hours or whatever it was. Now, like 41 minutes. What? I don't know what it's going to be like next year.
So what's the hard cap on that? How many entries?
300.
300?
Yeah.
Maybe they'll raise it eventually.
Well, I think it has to do mostly with how many, like the bloggers, you know, because it's a nice round number. So they get 10 blogs, 30 books each, and that's a lot of books. So in the first phase, you know, that's why, like when I was doing it, there were some judges who weren't on teams. It was just single judges, and they would go through 30 books for like their first batch, and that was that was a lot. So now it's much more, I think everybody's a team now. I think it's not just single judges. You know, the bloggers do an enormous amount of work, so we're really grateful for them.
They would drive me insane waiting for because you go through all the anticipation of entering, and then you have to just wait. That would just drive me crazy.
Yeah, it does a little bit, especially as it goes on. And if you're like one of the ones who don't, like, if you have to like wait for your review, like Esme, Team Weatherwax, they just get theirs out like boom, 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 you know, like Esme, so she just reads crazy fast. But some of the other ones like take longer, and if you're not a person who gets reviewed in like one of the early batches, and you're waiting like for mine, I had to wait until like the very end, and it was, I think was it on the last day? No, it was Nicole picked her finalists like 2 days before the last day of phase 1. And so we were all, and she didn't, I was in the last batch to pick semis. So it was like she had picked semis like 2 weeks before that or something. And then, so that was, and then she did this thing, and it's good for everybody. Like the drama is good. Like everybody's like waiting, and the suspense is good, but the suspense will kill you as a writer, because you just want to know what's happening to your book. And so she's like, I know who the finalist is, but I'm not going to tell you guys for 2 more hours. I was like, what are you doing? I'm going to die before then.
But you made it.
Yeah, I did, which was amazing. That was pretty neat. It was one of the best days, like, because I was like, wow, it's just really cool. And being a finalist is really, it's really not about who wins. It's being a finalist. Any of the 10 spots is a winner, you know. It really is. And like from 5, we're all friends, and you know, it really was a life-changing, and it was my debut novel, so I, you know, I wouldn't have sold as many copies if I hadn't been in SPFBO, because I just published it straight into SPFBO. It published a week before it started. Yeah.
Good timing.
Yeah, I was working hard to get it out. That was my whole goal.
And our friend Bo's here. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all
Hey, Bo.
enjoying a long Memorial Day weekend. Thanks, Bo. Bo's fantastic. Good evening. Hope you're having a good evening too. Bo comments, Josh's book is a D&D inspired story where a team of bounty hunters have to track down and defeat imaginative monsters that are created and fueled by death of humans. There you go, Josh.
That's a way better
There you
description.
go, Josh.
Thank you.
All
Well,
royalties go to Bona, is that?
Blurb,
And
you
our
can,
friend-
Bo, you can
Hey,
write my
Jared.
blurb.
That's the hardest thing.
Yeah, the Bo comments, the amount of books the teams and judges have to go through is crazy. They are true heroes for their commitment to helping out. It's a lot of reviewing and
It's
reading,
true.
and yeah, it's a lot of work.
I think Becky still does it by herself. I think she does all like
Oh,
30 of her
maybe.
books.
Oh, I think
she
you're right.
does.
I think you're
it's
right. Yeah, she's amazing. I think that's right.
high, but does a very, very good job of it for sure.
Yeah. I can't imagine, like, and I'm such a mood reader that I don't know. They do an amazing job.
I always think of Christopher, you were talking about 300 making it bigger, but you kind of want the books that are entered all to have their moment in the sun. Do you know what I mean? That once you go over 300 or whatever, maybe you don't get that exposure. And I think back to last year, the very first cut was Jim Wilborn's Seventh Cadence, which is a book that I dearly love. Like, I think it's an absolutely brilliant book. But I remember, like, that was almost like, oh my god, like this is quite a prominent book in some ways at the time as being the first book cut. But it got its exposure and got people talking about it for a couple of days, which was kind of like that's good for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of my plan too, is just try to hit up as many of these. I'm just putting away some of the traditional published books for a while, try to hit some of these, just try to give them as much exposure as I can. Yeah, I agree with that. The 300, that probably is the best stopping point at a point to where it gets oversaturated and so many titles just get pushed under the rug and all that.
Yeah, even just a matter of like logistics. If you start adding even more blogs, if there's like 12, 15 blogs, 15 finalists, it just becomes harder and harder to read everything within a year.
Yep. It's like scoring tickets. You just got to get in there when you get in there, right?
Oh, yeah. I was talking to some people who were like, it's going to be like high frequency trading. We need to like move closer to Mark Lawrence's house to make sure.
Everyone's starting to kiss up to Mark Lawrence.
Yeah.
I like that. There's like a whole idea of how can you improve your chances kind of thing going on in the background. Even if it's just for fun, it can be used in sometime during the future. 5 tips for
It's gonna be like Twitter thread guys.
Yeah, exactly.
How to get into SPFBO.
Right. Well, it's the time zones that are the killer. Like they always and me here at Fantasy Book Critic always puts up his the time zone website where you can convert all your time zones and all that's like, because I don't know, I've done this a few times and I've done time zones with people and I still can't remember them. So every year.
Yeah, I always have to confirm things. Like, I know usually like things like this, they do put your time zone on there, but I'm like, so I want to confirm that this is yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for the people who have to wake up at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. and submit it at that time.
I know.
Like, I was lucky. It's like 8 a.m. That's fine. I could do that.
Yeah, it was 7 for me, and I had like a couple of alarms set, and I had like my tabs for my Goodreads and Amazon links, like the night before, so I could just go sit and then, get my coffee first.
It all adds to the event of it, doesn't it? It's very much a time and a place. Everybody knew that it was going to close quite quickly. Maybe not 41 minutes, but like last year's was equally quick, in some ways. So it was very much everybody's on the bit ready to go. And it's a cracking book in your biography in another 30 years. When you talk about your SPFBO entry and not getting coffee that morning or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, like everybody on social media is like, when you get in, everybody's like, oh, you get in, and then you wait to see after it, you're like, wait for all the titles of the books to come out and like who's in what batch, and it's like a big holiday. I don't know, it's like the SPFBO day. So
So whose group are you in?
I'm in Before We Go blog.
Okay. Steve,
I
have
don't
a
know.
word.
Yeah. So
You're muted. Ah, that's just as well. That was contentious.
Just trying to get a drink of coffee, and here I go. That's what I get. No, I'm just saying they're a fantastic group of people
Yeah,
over
they
there.
are.
Before we go,
Yeah.
Beth
Yeah.
is really great.
yeah. So that was good. I was excited. Josh, which group are you in? What are you in? Who's are you
I'm in the fantasy faction group.
Nice.
Yeah.
That one looks. There are a lot of books in that one. That one looks like.
Yeah, it's a scary group to be.
Yeah.
Aw.
There's always one. It seems like every year.
Yeah.
You're
I,
like, wow.
I think we found out that they basically ordered them as like just chronological. So those are like the first 30 people who entered.
Oh my gosh.
So
Wow.
some authors who I guess were just like on top of it that day just
Wow.
got in there really quick. But a lot of them are like people I'm friends with and talked to on Twitter.
Mhm.
So like maybe I'll get lucky and like my book will resonate with the judges. But I'm almost like looking forward to the point where I'm just like cut so I could just root my friends on. Yeah, that'll be
Yeah.
nice. And then I don't have to worry about the anxiety or anything.
Yeah.
How complicated is it to submit your book? Is there a long process to submit, or what information do you have to submit to?
No, it was
enter?
really easy. I think it's basically just like a Google form with like less than 10 questions.
Yeah, they're
Um,
easy.
Yeah,
questions.
like Angela said, like you put in your Goodreads URL, your Amazon URL, upload your EPUB and your book cover, and then there's just like a couple check boxes like, is this AI generated art, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he put up the form ahead of time so that anybody could look and see and like, get all their info ready to go. So people
Yeah.
were submitting like within the first minute.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah.
Mark always, like puts up the number like based on like who's like the first 3 minutes. It was like over 100.
hmm
I don't know.
Wow.
It was a really huge number.
That's wild. It's crazy.
Yeah, just looking at his like chart of how fast things have filled up that he posted, it's like
Oh, yeah.
just this constant.
Right.
It's just going down every year.
Right.
And you wonder where it like bottoms out. Like, is it
I
going to be
know.
like 300 fill up in all the first
It's
5
like-
minutes or something
yeah,
next year?
I
Like,
know, that's just crazy.
yeah.
But it does go to show how important it has become in the indie sphere. You know that it is. You know, very much a centerpiece. I'm sure,
Mhm.
especially for yourself, Josh. You were thinking about it from the moment you launched your book back last year. That okay, I've got this milestone to hit, and we'll see if we can get a story up. And then when SPFBO comes, I'll be able to get a bit of fresh impetus even for yourself.
Yeah.
I just think it's amazing that this is just taking off so big,
Mhm.
regardless.
Yeah, it gets bigger every year, and there's more audience. It reaches more people. It's really been neat to see that happen. Back in 2019, we had to send an email to Mark, and like with your files, and so I don't know. It's like now it's a form that fills up like really fast, and everybody, like it was trending on Twitter, the SPFBO 9. And it's just it's really, I don't know, gratifying to see the audience expanding and see it growing up like it has, and reaching out to more and more people knowing about indie fantasy, because it's not just the SPFBO books that benefit, it's like all
All of it.
all indie authors benefit.
And even after 9 years, it's still kind of so pure. It hasn't morphed into this like more commercial aspect or something somebody's hijacked off the end of it with its growing popularity that often happens. It's still very much this group of bloggers, this group of people that are submitting their books, and for the common kind of good, which is to get more exposure to all of the books, regardless of a winner.
Yeah, it's kind of, and everybody who all the authors, every time that anybody like reads a book from SPFBO or tweets about it or whatever, it gets the word out more. So yeah, I it's been neat to see.
A couple of comments. Friend Colin's here. Hey, Colin.
Colin?
Everybody.
There you go.
Hey, Colin.
Thanks for coming by. Our friend Austin's
Austin.
here. Hey, Austin. Hope
Welcome.
you're doing well. Hope classes are going well for you. Lots of friends. Tori's here. Hey, Tori.
Tori's here to
Hey,
spy on you, Josh. This is going to
Oh, yeah.
trying to psych you out.
She's in my group. Yeah.
Speaking of,
Robin.
Hey, Robin.
Robin the spine bender. Yep.
And, yeah, exactly. Don't be careful. Watch your spines around Robin because they're not. Bo made a comment, which is I think is a good one.
Yeah.
The getting cut isn't the end of the world. Ryan Cahill got cut, and look at him now. So
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's doing all right.
Yeah.
He's okay.
yes, you got this, Josh.
Thanks, Tori.
Yeah. Sadir, Sadir.
He's Sadir, another fantasy faction buddy.
yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
another
no.
spy. Indeed.
I actually told Sadir that I actually have a character that's named him. Only I do have an H after the A, but I didn't know him before naming this character. But
Just luck.
you just luck.
Yeah.
Hey, Drew.
What has your experience been, Christopher, writing your first book? What is that been?
Yeah, it's been a labor. It's been over like a decade since I've been working on it. So, and again, it's not like something that I work on regularly, at least for the last, decade. Life happens, marriage and and moving a lot, and just a lot of different things get in the way. And I know that's a lame excuse for writing, but I think what I've learned in the process is, obviously, I think a lot of people say this is, just don't look back. Just don't say, oh, let me look back at, chapter 1 and 2. I know they're garbage right now. And I've actually talked to a Tori about this, where I've actually switched POV characters. So a character that I've been POVing in the beginning of the book is no longer a POV. So there's a lot of, it's just a process, and it's just getting the words on the paper for me right now. And then I'll come back and do that first review. I don't even consider this a first draft. It's just getting it out there on the computer screen or, wherever I have it. And then I'll start my first draft kind of thing. So yeah, it's just a discipline for me. And I feel like I'm doing a lot better with staying with my discipline and working on writing every day. I got about 1,200 words today.
Oh, that's awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I feel like those excuses were really not excuses at all.
No.
Like
Yeah.
life happens, and moving and getting married, those are like huge events that you should be happy for. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I
it's like
took
if writing
about-
takes a side to that, that's perfectly fine, I think.
Yeah. I took about 10 years off, I guess, in the middle when I had a bunch of kids, and kind of went away for a while, and then I came back. I started again and dragged all my manuscripts out of the closet and started working on them again about 2017, I think that was. So I relate. There were a lot of life events in there.
And speak of the devil, let me hear.
It's a terrible thing to call me here.
And our friend Rachel's here. Hope you're having
Hey,
a
Rachel.
fantastic day too, Rachel. Mihir is another one of the just fantastic people in the community.
Yeah.
Love me here.
I love his channel.
Yeah. And Jared is still in the middle of a 20-year break.
All right, I'm winning.
What was your process like, Joshua, in your first book?
Yeah, so like Bo said, it was D&D inspired, so that was actually like adapting a campaign that me and my friends did. So I started in late 2018, and at that point I sort of like decided I want to try and write a book, and I had ideas, and I just like the ideas were too big for my skill set at the time, so I was like, I should write a practice book. and it just seemed to like make sense to take the notes that I had from our D&D campaign and just like turn those into a really terrible first draft. And then I was like, well, I should practice the next part and the next part, and it just went all the way through to the publication. So yeah, I'm still on my practice run, I guess, at this point. But yeah, it's been interesting for sure. Just joining Twitter last year and just becoming like joining the writing community has been so gratifying, just meeting so many other authors and other people who are on the path. So very cool.
And, Rachel is asking, where can I get this gold nugget of goodness? It's available in audiobook now too. So this audiobook are the
Oh, is the gold nugget of goodness my book?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
You didn't recognize it, no?
Yes, it is on Audible now, and if you buy an ebook, which is 99 cents, the audiobook price drops by like $30. So I would recommend doing that. Save a little bit of money that way.
Yeah.
And the guy that we got for the narration, his name's Danny Gavigan. He was like a theater actor, so he does tons of like character voices and everything.
That's cool.
I haven't listened to the whole thing yet, but I'm still working my way through it, and I'm so happy with how it came out. He's awesome.
Nice. Our friend Dan is here, the black and blue collar reader.
Hey, Dan.
Tori comments, I took a big break after college, marriage, kids, with writing too. That isn't a silly reason. And you're crushing it now, Chris. Can't wait to read your book.
Yeah.
Now the pressure's on.
Yeah, no pressure.
No.
No pressure at all.
It's funny when they hear authors speak, especially when they maybe even have written a book like Josh and Angela have, and then they kind of go, but the second book's going slowly. I wouldn't expect it, anytime soon. Then like 3-4 months later, they go, nearly finished, expect it anytime soon. And like kind of the ups and downs of the writing process and the creative process that goes along. You can get big spurts and then have stall out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I don't know, I rewrite a lot. So when I'm not exactly a pantser, but I'm not a planner either. So I'm sort of in the middle, and my first drafts, I guess, are kind of where I'm trying to figure out the story. So I don't like, I kind of know the end. And then when I get to the end, I'm like, oh no, I didn't know the end. It's going to be this. And I usually have a better idea when I get there. And then I have to go back and reverse engineer everything so the end makes sense. So I wouldn't feel like you're like the only one doing it this way, because that's kind of the way I write. I have to figure it out first, and then once I get the words down.
I mean, things change, of course, where my characters are going and directions. I kind of let them do their own thing, but I try to like have a path where it's like, as long as you're hitting these plot points, do whatever you guys want, kind of thing in the writing process. But yeah, it's so it kind of, I definitely am a planner. It's like these things have to happen, this, this, and this. It's just the matter of getting there. Might not be going according to my plan, but maybe that's good. Maybe that's allowing my characters to do what they want to do, as long as it's not deviating from the plot or the pace. Is I'm cool with that.
Have you talked about what your book is about on your YouTube channel at all? Or...
No.
Okay.
In fact, a couple of people have asked if and honestly, because it's such in a change kind of from my original plan, I don't really have an honest way to answer that. I mean, I haven't even told my spouse, really.
So he's in there doing something.
Yeah, it's doing something right now. It's like the downloading bar. It's just doing what it's doing right now. But I think once I get into that first draft, and going back, then I can probably start. I'm gonna probably start giving out information, because I did kind of have in plan to do my channel a little bit of a hybrid of reading, catching up on all these books that I want to read, and then maybe do a little bit of writing as well in it.
A question I have, in general. So I'm used to making like shorter form content, whether that's songwriting or making YouTube videos, which kind of you can do in one sitting, and you sort of get a feeling in the moment of whether you really like what you're producing or it's just absolute garbage. Sometimes you could find out in the edit. But the revisionist history of that makes you look back at that like 6 months later and go, no, that actually was garbage, or that was actually quite good. When you're writing something that's much longer form, how do you stop yourself getting halfway through the book and going, actually, I want to change everything, or want to really do quite a lot of revisionist history, on it?
Well, what I do is I just keep going, and I promise myself that when I get to the end, I can go back and fix everything. So
Right.
I'll leave myself notes. I'll say, I need to fix this part. I need to fix this part. I need to do this, but I can't, like, I do sort of edit as I go as far as like what scene I'm in, because I have to go back and read what I wrote when I'm drafting the day before in order to get going the next day. So I'll take care of it. I'll clean some of that up. But if it's bigger, I won't go back unless I'm in a revision. Like if I'm in a revision, then I'll go, oh wait, I screwed up. I need to go back to the beginning and take care of that before I can go do this. But it's more of a, that's much more of a non-sequential thinking, like it's like at that point, especially if it's later drafts, like you gotta get it right. Like you can't put it off. Like you can't leave yourself notes in parentheses and go, I think of, they do some fighting here, and then go on. And then, like, because I do that, I'm like, I don't know what they're doing, but then this, and then, so like when I get to the end and then I let it, then I can go back and read it all the way from the beginning, and it's only then that I can really see the shape of the book. I can go, oh, this is the story, and I can go, I didn't do nearly enough with this part because this was really cool and I need to make that happen more. And this chunk is just kind of boring. I'm going to get rid of it. Or I had no idea this character was going to be this way, So some writers aren't like that. They have everything like really set and they write very much, but I don't know. I'm always kind of like, I always have these alternative stuff in my head, and sometimes I don't get it out right the first time I go back.
Nice.
But that's me.
I feel like my process is pretty similar. Like I just don't let myself go back until it's time to start the revisions. Otherwise, you could just constantly rewrite the first chapter over and over and over again. And I've talked to some writers who seem to have that problem. And yeah, it's just like you just got to accept that some of the early stuff you've written is not going to be very good, and you just got to like accept that and be okay with that being in your document. But no one's ever going to see that, so yeah, it's okay.
True. Right, I have to do that to myself. Tell myself this is just for me. Nobody's going to see it, and then I can get going. And I do that up to the very end. But when after it's like proof, like, okay, this is it. I have to like submit this now. I have to click publish. So and then, I always have that anxiety. But it's usually when I click publish, I'm afraid that like there's going to be no words in the file or something when it downloads. But it's usually okay.
And Cedar is excited to hear more about your book when you feel it's time.
Yeah, agreed.
When it's time. 5 years from now. No, I'm kidding. No, I just 2 cents to what we were just talking about. Yeah, I'm finding that out too. I used to be terrible about going back. All right, how can I rewrite chapter 1? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh wait, I like this idea. Let's go back to chapter 1 and fix this, kind of thing. And that was, definitely in my, when I was first doing this writing, years ago. But yeah, now it's just plowing forward. I know the things I need to change, and like Angela mentioned, making notes of the changes. Obviously, my POV change. A lot of those. Just keeping track and then not worry about it. Just getting the words on the paper, having that skeleton, and then you can build from that.
It's a process for sure.
Yeah, I think it really is the first big thing. that's like the first big hurdle, is just to finish something. And I think, we've all been there, because I know my I have a lot of stuff on hard copy in my closet, and then it's there, it's unfinished, and I still start way more than I finish. I have like all these little starts hanging around. So I think that's going to be, like, you're doing great.
And I think, and like I said earlier, BookTube has just been a big influence for me on doing that. Just talking to a lot of fellow writers on Discord and all that has just been really got me going. There's some people do writing sprints, where the reading sprints are. You can do the writing sprints. I actually use reading sprints to do writing sprints, and I actually get a lot of work done because I work in increments. So when you take those breaks, when you talk live again with people, that's good. It just kind of like refreshes, you don't get too stuck into it. So they've been really beneficial for me.
Yeah, it's wild. I don't all of you keep up, especially with Twitter, because I find myself getting lost in things, and I don't know how any of you get anything done, because it's so distracting. I don't know how do you eliminate distractions like that and stay focused on what you're doing.
I think for me, it's just like what Christopher said. It's just time boxing, and just really trying to be disciplined and like set aside an hour, 2 hours, and make sure I'm like actually focused on writing in that time. Lately, I've not been super successful since Tears of the Kingdom came out. That has been very distracting. But yeah, just having a writing group, time boxing, those things just help keep me focused.
Yeah, I mean, I do the same thing. I use sprints, and also I have a lot of kids, so I do have to. So I do have to, like, I have to train, and I write at the kitchen table sometimes when I'm at home. So I do have had to train myself to be able to write, answer questions, deal with whatever, and then turn back and like do that. So electronic distractions are a little bit harder to deal with those. So lately I've been trying to in Rachel Aaron's 2K to 10K, which is really, really good for and just for a lot of reasons. But she, in order to figure out when she was most productive and how to organize her day, she kept a spreadsheet of like the time she spent writing, like how many words she did, like how much time she spent, a lot of notes. And I'm not much of a spreadsheet person, but I decided lately that I was going to do that just to see how much actual time I had, and where it was, when I could focus more. I get most of my stuff done. My youngest daughter is disabled. She has Down syndrome, and she's in therapy like a few afternoons a week, and I sit in the car in the parking lot, and that's when I get a lot of my focused writing done. So I try to have everything off. I mean, fortunately it's in the car, so if I put my phone away, I don't have anything like right in front of me, and I can just work, which is nice. But I can't live in the car. So
That's so funny, because I mean I work a lot with students and working on training for academic study, and what I often say to them, you need a stable kind of calendar to do. Now your life may be complete chaos within that stability, but at least it's your stability. It's a bit like you're saying, you've got that time where you sit in the car when somebody else is doing something, and then you use that time productively, and you can structure it, where somebody else might look at that and go, but I would be kind of all over the place. I'd be running out doing shopping at that time or something else. But you can create that pocket for yourself to be productive within that space.
yeah, you have to be like really stubborn about it in order, because there's always stuff that's going to come up that is going to be like, well, you can react to this, or there's always something that needs to be done. There's always, in our house, there's always laundry, there's always something that and it can be hard to put that out of your mind. But we homeschool too, so I had been used to like putting the day in kind of blocks. So you know, like if I wake up in the morning, breakfast, like people, some of my kids will get up earlier than others, but and they're getting, like, most of them are teenagers now. And when I say I have a lot of kids, like I have 9, but 2 of them are out of the house. One of them's in college, and yeah, I mean, here's comment. Yeah, I do have a lot of kids.
Can't confirm. 9 seems like a lot to me, anyway.
Definitely commend you on that.
Like,
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I say things like, well, I only have 7 at home now, but it seems like, you know, there's 2 out, and then my college student will go back, and then it'll be 6. But they're getting older now. It's not like when they were younger, which was like exhausting, but I mean fun, but also exhausting. So it's a little bit easier now. I can have like breakfast, okay, and then I put my work away, and then I, you know, do stuff with the kids or whatever, and lunch, and then later on in the afternoon I take Abby and I do some more work, and then I come home and I do more family stuff, and then sometimes at night after people kind of settle down, although my youngest daughter's schedule has been a little bit wacky for the past several months, I'll try to do some more, but it, you know, it varies. You just have to be flexible, I guess. But yes, laundry never ends.
There's only 2 kids in our house, and it feels like the washing machine goes constantly. Like I have no concept of what it would be like, but more than that.
I heard.
I now I have like literally no excuses over here because I have no kids. So.
No, but there's always something. I mean, you know, everybody has something. But yeah, no, laundry. I heard one mom of a large family said it was like shoveling in a snowstorm, and that's probably the best description of laundry with a large family.
Tori comments, I have 3 and I feel like my house is chaos. I can't imagine mom boss.
I don't know about that.
Tori gets it done.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Joshua, you crafted your story around your D&D campaigns. Did any people in your playgroup read the book?
I think maybe one of them read part of it. Yeah, it was. I have like sort of mixed feelings about like writing a book about like characters that my friends played, because it's like it almost like feels like I just took like our story and made it my story. And like yeah, I tried to like make sure that I did them justice and like they were happy with everything, but especially for like the guy who DM'd the campaign. I've talked with him a lot, and like our stories have diverged so radically at this point. He gave me like some beta feedback on like the first act of the book, but yeah, I don't know if he liked it or not. It's hard to tell.
I get the influence for D&D. I think I do have like a side character who's kind of based on one of the characters I played in a campaign, so I get that definitely. And even some of my writing in general has a lot of influences from, you know, a lot of the old campaigns like Dark Sun and Planescape. I'm not too sure if you guys are familiar with a lot of those side campaigns in D&D, but yeah, definitely some influences.
So can we expect a Tears of the Kingdom influence book 2 then, Josh?
Yeah, it's really weird. I'm just writing about this Zelda.
Saving a princess, you know, I don't know where it came from.
Do you play too, Angela? Do you play D&D?
Not for a really long time, but my kids do often have D&D games going, and they, you know, talk to me about them. But I haven't, not since I was in college. I don't think I've had like a group to play. And my son, who's in college, he plays a lot. They play a lot, so I'm D&D adjacent.
Rachel says, I kind of feel better now. The only person in any of my past D&D groups to read my books was my DM.
Yeah.
Tori has to go right. You guys are awesome. Thanks, Tori, for
See you, Tori.
Bye, Tori.
Bye, Tori.
Said here, ooh, Dark Sun. That was an inspiration for my book.
To that end, how widely known is it that you write between people that are kind of, well, I suppose in the case of Angela, people that you meet in the supermarket or meet at school gates or whatever that may be. Even YouTube channels, like hardly anybody knows that I do YouTube even on the side, which seems ridiculous because I do it about 4 nights a week.
How many people in your lives know that you're writers or Christopher YouTuber?
Well, for me, yeah, most people know I'm a writer. They laugh about it because I don't have anything written, and I've been talking about it for years. But there was a comment earlier mentioned. I said my goal was to get it done before George R. R. Martin or Rufus. Her work's done. So
25 years we've got still. This is good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then as for YouTube, everyone pretty much knows I do post like my videos on Facebook. Is kind of like the social thing I use for with my friends and family that live far away and all that. So I don't think any of them watch it. There's not a lot of I don't really have a lot of bookish friends. Yeah, there's a few, but yeah, but everybody knows.
My family knows I write, but I don't think too many other people that I know in my IRL actually know that I write. Some of them do, though. When Fortune's Fool came out, some of them bought the book and liked it, thankfully. I don't know, the ones who didn't, I guess they just didn't tell me, but just very kind. But it's always kind of a weird thing. Sometimes I don't know, since I write romantic fantasy too, sometimes I'm okay with that. Like it's okay. You don't have to read my book.
Do you have like
Josh?
Steamy parts in the books? I haven't read any of yours, sorry.
Yeah, well, Fortune's Fool doesn't. It's kind of a fade to gray, I guess. It's not really black, but it's kind of gray. But Dreams is a little bit more, has a few more graphic scenes in it, a little bit more, a little spicier, I guess. So.
Stuff you wouldn't want your grandma reading.
Yeah, probably not. It's okay. But although it's kind of a weird thing now. Like I have college age and older kids in their 20s, and when your kids start reading your books, it's a little bit odd.
Do they actually?
Yeah, well, my daughter's friends actually more than her. Because she told all of her friends about, and she's out of college now. So when she was in college, she told all of her friends about my book, and a lot of them bought it and read it and liked it, which was nice. I felt really good about that, but it's kind of strange, like here's my mom's book, and yeah, and so. It's kind of weird being I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm the cool mom or just this is your weird writer mom, but
Those are not mutually exclusive groups.
Well, true.
What about you, Josh? Do people in your life know that you're an author?
Definitely like my close friends and some coworkers and my family members. I have a pretty big family, just lots of cousins. I don't know if they all know that I'm a writer, but a lot of them do. And ever since getting the audiobook, actually a couple of my family members have started reading it just because I guess they work better with audio. So that's been pretty gratifying that they actually seem to like it. Or if they don't, they just don't tell me.
Do you ever wonder if it's a case that Josh is coming around, dust the book?
Yeah, sometimes. I have one friend who's like, yeah, I started reading your book, and I think it's been 8 months now, and he still hasn't finished it. And I'm like, you don't have to read it if you don't really like it. I'm totally cool with that. I already got your money. So.
That's the spirit. I like it.
Christopher, what's it like been your first couple months on YouTube? What's your experience been like?
It's been very positive. It's a little more. It's a little more work than I anticipated. I don't feel like I'm the best speaker. I am definitely a writer more than a speaker. So when I'm getting in front of the camera, it's a process for me, and I have to do a lot of takes, and it would take like usually even like a 15-minute video between filming and the editing and getting everything prepped for the following day when I put it out there. It's usually like almost a whole day process for me. A little more time. So it's definitely a day I don't get anything really else done. But I enjoy it. And I enjoy meeting new people. Like I said, for me, this is like the better part of the experience. I won't lie and say I would love to see the channel grow, but I think for me, the more rewarding experience is the engagement levels with fellow content creators and and authors and things of that sort, because that's what gets me going. That's what gets me energized is to read more and to write more. And so yeah, it's been a great experience so far, and I'm enjoying it. So maybe in a year from now we'll see if that answer is still the same. But
Yeah, there's that line of making the content you enjoy making, and then you want someone to watch it, right? You don't want it to just sit there.
Of course, yeah. And I'm definitely still learning on what kind of videos I want to put out. I am doing a lot of the, typical videos you see with a lot of BookTube, just to see. And then I want to try to find something a little unique as well. Just still trying to find my brand. But again, it's all about the engagement for me, really, honestly.
Yes. John Douglas is here. Hey, friends and family aren't your audience, I always say.
It's true. There's like a conflict of interest almost.
Yeah. Rachel, Josh, I felt that. My brother bought the ebook to read, to be supportive, never bothered to read it.
Only bought the ebook? What kind of support?
My father-in-law does that. I would get like these spikes, like, who bought 6 paperbacks? Like, oh my gosh, 6. And then it was my father-in-law, and he gives them to like all the relatives, and they
That's nice.
Yeah, it was nice. I mean, but it was funny. I was like, oh, okay, now I understand.
You get that excitement, don't you? You're like, oh god, I have a good day. It's really taken off. Yeah, this is fantastic. And then you're sort of crushed. You're like, oh.
I mean, it's okay. It was nice. It was nice of him to do that.
Yeah, that same thing happened with my aunt. I was like, oh, that's where all my paperback sales are coming from.
And Angela, you also do a podcast, right? Swords and Corsets?
Yeah. We started off with that. It's about a romantic fantasy with Crystal Matar and J.D. Evans, who won SPFBO with Rain and Ruin, and Chris Broadbent. So we just kind of, it's kind of sporadic, because we all are pretty busy and had some big deadlines in there and stuff that we had to hit writing wise, but yeah, it's fun to get together and talk about that subgenre, like because it's a big one, and it like encompasses a lot on the fantasy side and then more on the romance side, it's been interesting getting started doing it from the other side of the podcast, not just the talking, being a guest, but doing I don't do any production, but we had to figure out how to. Jen kind of keeps us in line. She does the okay, now there's like, let's do bullet points, so we're not like, because we're trying to keep it to like 30 minutes.
Oof. And
otherwise we just kind of ramble, so thankfully.
Seems impossible.
That's
30-minute podcast.
Yeah, it is kind of, we go over sometimes, but But yeah, we have Jen to kind of rein us back in. We start to ramble.
Wow. John comments, friends or family will give you sales and pats on the back out of friendly obligation, but not the objective feedback you need to grow as a writer. Colin, it's been super awesome going through this process alongside you, Chris, and getting to know you.
Absolutely. Yeah, Colin's been really cool. We started our channels around the same time, so it's been really great to immediately connect with a lot of people, especially, you know, with our, you know, year of 2023, you know, content creators. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's so important to find people who are like in the same part of the process as you, just to like learn, bounce ideas off of each other. Like, that's having a writing group from NaNoWriMo did that for me. It sounds like that's what you've got with Colin. Like, that's really just awesome for growing in your craft and just learning.
Yeah.
I know it's a hot topic, and I know a lot of people, everyone's talking about it because it's such a big deal, but I wanted to get everyone's thoughts on AI and where you feel like where we are and where we're going, because I've heard a lot of people say that we're 10 years away from AI producing a book from start to finish that most people won't be able to tell AI wrote it. And I think it's more of like we're a year or two away from that, from not being able to tell. So I wanted to ask all of you what everyone's thoughts were about where we are now and what we might see in the future. Not all at once.
Yeah, I've got to go. See.
Yeah, I think we're all like, we're all like,
I mean, I think it's a really big. It's going to change. It's going to change a lot of things for all of us, really. Even the writer's strike right now, a lot of it is around AI. That a lot of the studios are trying to incorporate more AI and put more writers out of work. So it's an interesting topic, and you know.
I think, I don't know, like, it's not the same thing as when ebooks came out and people thought it was the death of the book, you know, which obviously it wasn't, and it's been, so I think like AI now, like, maybe it could produce generic books, you know, like, because I don't understand a lot about how AI works, but I think right now it's just aggregating, like it's scouring, and then it, you know, so at that point it's just kind of hitting. It doesn't have voice, like because, and really I think that's what I read books for. I read books for the writer's voice, for the character, for an understanding of what it means to be a human, even in the non-human characters. You know, you have like this sort of experience like that you relate to, and like I think AIs can fake that a little bit, but it's at some level it's not going to be really satisfying. It's like in art where you can tell an AI did the picture if you look close and see the people, and it's like the hands are weird or the eyes are weird. There's just something a little off, and that's kind of what I feel like AI is going to be like. So I think that it's definitely an issue that we're going to have to deal with, in it probably in a legal way, because you know what is AI scouring? What is it picking up our words and using our words? Is that violating our copyright? Is it stealing intellectual property? Those are questions that we're gonna have to answer. And on the art side of it, they're there. That's the big thing there. But I don't know. My kids try to break Chat GPT, like they start asking it all sorts of weird questions just to see if they can make it shut down.
Yeah, it's hard to
go ahead, Josh.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just hard to say where it's gonna go. I think all of this is just a big unknown right now. But yeah, there's certainly going to be changes just in terms of like legality and what capabilities it has. Like you're saying, you think it's probably going to be sooner than 10 years that you'll be able to not be able to tell if it's an AI generated book. I think it's probably months away. Just at the rate that things have been improving, because I'm a software engineer, so I've been sort of keeping track of all this stuff, and it's been pretty surprising how fast it's gained in capability, and just how fast like OpenAI is releasing new models. It's really it's kind of scary sometimes. But yeah, I mean, it's a question of just how we're all going to handle that, I think. And like, it seems to me a given that it's going to eventually get to the point where an AI generated story is going to be as good as like Rachel says, it's going to be like a New York Times best-selling novel. But I think people will always want to read non-AI generated stuff. Like Angela said, there's like that human component. And you're trying to convey your experience in some slice of the human experience that you're experiencing. I've used the word experience 3 times in that sentence. Yeah, that's why we have editors. But, yeah, I mean, I almost see that as like a marketing thing. Like there'll be probably tags that people put on books as like, this is purely human generated, human written, non-AI generated. But yeah, it's almost like an empirical question. I was tempted to do an experiment, and I may still do this, where I put out like 5 short stories or like flash fiction where like some of them are AI written and some of them I've written myself, and just like poll people and see if they could tell which ones are AI. And almost like do that every once in a while and see if it ever gets to the point where like people think the AI stories are better than mine. Which probably is not.
Probably don't do it anyway, Josh. It seems like a terrible idea.
Yeah. But yeah, there's also like the legal aspect. Like it seems like it is in sort of a gray area where like a lot of people don't really know how these LLMs work, and like if they're transforming the data sets in enough way that it is like fair use. And I think this is all just going to have to be worked out in the legal system, and we have no idea how that's going to go because government doesn't always get things right. So yeah, it's definitely just something to keep an eye on, and it's going to impact people just outside of the writing community too. Like how long until people start losing their jobs because AI can just do it better? That's a scary world, but it may be coming faster than we imagine or hope.
I'll also agree with Josh. I just graduated with a degree in computer science. My spouse is a professor of computer sciences, so we see that. We're also keeping tabs on that, and I do think it's going to happen a lot quicker than we expect it to. It's just moving so fast. I saw a meme once where it said, describe dystopian life. And they said, well, right now, humans are still working minimum wage and AI is creating art. So, yeah, it's definitely something, we're just going to have to try to work around, or, I don't know. I think the computer part of me, the programmer part of me, there's some things I think AI can do for us, like on a technical level. But as to art, I think like Angela touched on, I think Sadir in the comments about, will it take a while before it has the intelligence to create something fresh, with a unique, without sounding too generic as a fantasy kind of thing, or whatever it writes. So I think that might take a little bit of a while for AI to pick up and create something fresh and new. But yeah.
I think it's also going to be like what Amazon does. So like as far as how Amazon allows, AI generated books to be published, because if it's like gonna throw it in on, like, like right now with Kindle Unlimited, if you're a part of the Kindle Unlimited program, your books are exclusive to Amazon. You can't sell it on any other retailers, but it goes in, your books go into the money is a pool of all the subscription fees that are charged, and the more books that go into the pool, and there are always like new books coming in, and hopefully new subscribers. I mean, the pay rate has stayed fairly stable, although Amazon's raising their subscription rate now because it hasn't grown as fast as they thought it was going to be. So if you get a bunch of AI generated stuff that can be done really fast and that's dumped into KU, into the pool, then that affects us. Not just like that you can't tell the difference, but because even if it's labeled this is AI, whatever, it still dilutes the pool that we're paid from. So that's another one of those practical legal issues that's going to have to be worked out. And I don't know, like Amazon likes to make money, so I don't know how it's going to fall on that issue.
So I have lots of thoughts on this. So legality, I'll touch on the legality part first, because this was actually challenged and came up this week. At the moment, AI is producing a lot of non-commodifiable stuff. It's search engine results, it's copy past text, it's just getting stuff. As soon as that becomes a commodity, it moves into a whole new legal realm. And they were challenged, OpenAI were challenged this week on proving that something wasn't from copyrighted material. Because when you do that, when you can't do that, then it becomes open season. As soon as they publish a book, I can go along and say, you copied me. If they can't prove that they didn't copy me, then I win the case. The onus is on them, and they walked away from the argument because they can't do it at the moment. They don't know exactly where their sources are coming from. So as soon as this becomes something that is worth money, and I think you'd raised the point a few weeks ago, Steve, or in one of the threads in the forum, that who gets the royalties? If there's an adaptation or a film adaptation of an AI book or something, at what point, where does that money go to? Is it open season on that even? And does nobody own it? All of that kind of stuff. I think, a bit like Sadir says, the AI doesn't create. I actually think it's misnamed as AI because it's not really intelligent in the way that AI sort of says that it is. I come from that background as well. We've got three of us on here. This is really good fun. It's aggregating at the moment, and it's doing it within a model of creating good language skills. They're getting better language skills and presenting this as if it's AI. And the only things that I think are really under threat are the things that they have made a formula for. So it seems to me like romance novels have been written by the authors in a very strict formula where they just churn out that formula. That stuff is under threat. I'll give you another one. I know the thing about the artists, and the artists feel threatened. How many fantasy covers have a single dude or female standing with their back facing a castle on the front in some sort of different shades of covers? Why would you not have an AI cover of that when they are basically copy pasted, different versions of that? They're not really totally original in the way that something like Felix Ortiz's work can be, something like that. Anything that's created or new is going to be fine. In fact, you all know how hard it is to sell books in general. If something isn't creative or doesn't have a new slant, what chance has it really got? Especially if it becomes to the point that AI is everywhere. They could be flooded with thousands of books every day that are within that sphere. And if it's not creative or new or not distinguishing itself, who is actually going to invest their time? Because for the consumer, time is actually the most precious resource. It's not even really money in modern society, because Kindle books are 99p. Kindle books are free. You can get them in Kindle Unlimited. So I think actually a lot of the sky is falling stuff, I think, will resolve itself in a little way to shake out, because same with the TV writer's strike. I think this is venture capitalists, studios, etc., thinking to maximize their profits. But writers have value, and well-written shows stand the test of time. Poorly written shows disappear within weeks. And I think ultimately the writers are right to fight back because they are talking about reducing the sizes of writers' room, and that's kind of the stuff that they're basing their argument around. And if they can keep that bit together and say, actually, we're not engaging with this process until we get some assurances, then they're going to be quite well off, relatively speaking, anyway. Because they're not well off at all in the big scheme of things compared to the profits that those shows make.
Yeah, I think to Angela's point about muddying the waters and collecting from that pool of like KU, then that would it be harder to, even if you're not interested in those stories that are not as good, is it harder to find the good ones? I mean, does it make it to where you're harder to find the books that you're looking for?
It could. I mean, but you had a good point, because it's not just like, you can't just dump your book on Amazon, publish it, and then like hands off, because especially it's getting harder and harder to, get the message out to people that your book exists, basically. So, there has to be like something behind it. Like, marketing is hard work. So it's not just the AI, like everything has to come together. And if the book's not good, people are, they know that. Like, you can hype it for only so long before people figure out it's just they don't want to read it anymore. So
yeah, if George R. R. Martin can get 1-star reviews, what chance have these other books that are coming along?
Just want to say hello to our friend Joao.
Joao.
Yep.
Joao.
Hi.
So good to see you.
Welcome.
Rachel, what I hear you saying is write faster before it's too late.
that's like sums up being an indie author, I think.
Well said, Chris. Rachel, I need to somehow trick people into thinking I'm amazing, so they tell their friends, and then bank. Teresa's here. As a consumer, I want AI-generated books to be labeled so I can avoid them like genetically modified food. This is something that I think is really important, is that they should be labeled as either AI-generated or AI-assisted. I think that's something that I don't think that's unfair to ask, but that's just me.
Yeah.
What does everyone think?
No, absolutely.
I totally agree.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does anybody remember the furore that was kicked up around the Christopher Paolini cover, which was the fractal space cover, I think? And somebody came along after and says, if you'd have got an artist to do this, it would look like this. And it was pretty much identical in a different style. I don't think that was making the point that it thought it was making. If you know what I mean, everybody said it's better, and that, but that's subjective. At a certain stage, you want to say that this is completely different and very much in a different creative way. And AI-generated books. It's interesting that Josh had said that the SPFBO thing. Did they ask you to label whether the AI-generated art as part of the process of the submission?
It was, I think, just for the cover art.
For the cover, that's what I mean. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was. So there are already kind of moves within that sphere to kind of separate, things from one thing to another, already.
Yeah. And
There's an awareness of it.
I think that readers in general like the idea of supporting writers and artists. So I think that's where AI comes in. If they know that AI is, you're just using it's not, they don't feel like they're getting behind a human being, and I think that readers do like to get behind human beings.
Yeah, I think that sort of touches on what I was saying before, where there's going to be like a marketing aspect where people will be able to market themselves as like, I don't use AI to write these books.
Right.
And especially right now, like in the culture, there's a lot of pushback against this. So I think people are probably like almost afraid to say that they would use AI to write their books.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, like I write because I just think it makes me a better person to write. I like going through the process, and it does good things to my brain structure, I think. But like, just to play devil's advocate, if AI is like a tool and it gets really, really good, I think we probably will see a lot of people who do like AI assisted things. And it might be the case similar to like in chess, where like a human versus an AI chess bot, like the human will never win there. But a human using an AI chessbot can beat that AI chessbot. Like the symbiotic one is like the victor there. And it might be the case where like people are better able to tell the story that they want to tell if they use AI. But I do think it makes sense to label it at that point, so that people who really are against it like don't have to read this, and people are just, there's like consumer awareness at least.
I can't wait for the first degree program that is in AI querying, because that is actually where the money will be made in the next 5 or 10 years. The people are really good at creating good prompts and getting good output because of how they instruct the AI to go along with ChatGPT 4 or whatever version comes along after it. You even look at Midjourney. There are some people that are amazing at image creation in Midjourney just because of how they write the prompts, and that's going to become a really sought after skill, I think, over the next kind of period that we have.
Yeah. I think a big part of the reason there's so much pushback right now is because of the aspect of feeling like this is stealing people's copyrighted work and art. So I really think like opt-in data sets will do a lot to alleviate that fear, at least, making it so like, oh well, like anybody whose art is used to train these models, like they are aware that it's going to be used for that purpose. And I almost wonder if it would be good to be a part of that sort of opt-in data set, because then like, I don't know, this is something I'm not like, I don't have fully formed thoughts on yet. Like I don't know what the right answer is, but thinking like if someone is writing in a style that is like similar to your style, I almost feel like that's a form of flattery in a way. It's like if they think your style is that good that they're trying to write their own books in that style, it's almost like kind of cool. But there could be all kinds of like weird incentives that creates and negative externalities. Like I really don't know.
Colin had some comments. Colin, another part of this is education. We read to my daughter every single night, and she's 7, so she's starting to begin to understand what stories and fiction actually are. And I make sure to discuss with her that the author in the front is this thought the story up. It came from their imagination, and they made a beautiful story for us to enjoy. Isn't that cool? I make sure to prompt her to think like that when it comes to art, so she can really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
And creating stories that we can all read separately and all come away with something quite different from. You know, the kind of craft that goes into that conversation, rather than just being like a story starts here, goes here, has a twist here, and ends. You know, the thematic stuff that goes into that is so carefully crafted. AI is nowhere near that at the moment. You know, the something that will take and use my prejudices and my upbringing and my culture either for or against me, you know, in terms of the creative and writing process. Like the really best books do that, unless somebody's trying to steal bits from all different parts that are the same style and source. It's not there yet. I don't think it's going to be there within the next couple of years, because that's not what they're actually designing to do. It seems to me at the moment it's about, like I say, the language models and things that they're trying to present, so it presents intelligent, just as where a lot of the creativity is going.
I know from a, like I mentioned, on a technical aspect of it, I know a lot of, from what I'm gathering from my spouse in the profession field of computer science, is they are teaching coders and all that to utilize the API to help with the code writing and all that. So I think there is that technical aspect, which I'm all for. I like that aspect. I think it's just, in summary for me, it's just all about creation and of art and writing. I think there just needs to be a limitation to those aspects to the AI.
To go in like a very sci-fi direction, what if the AI eventually becomes conscious? Then would we want it to write its experience?
Skynet.
But then it will actually be AI at that stage, and maybe that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, at that point, I feel like it's just a person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's in the Blade Runner thing of, well, what is the difference?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a replicant.
Yeah.
What I think would be really interesting is something like A Song of Ice and Fire, right? Like let's say he I don't want this to happen. Let's say he passes on before he's able to finish it. What if they took his notes and ran it through AI and had that finish the series? That's the kind of thing that I think may be possible here.
That's what happened season 8 of Game of Thrones, isn't it? That's exactly what happened. It's explained.
It was the early days of AI.
They were all technically done at season 7, and they were just like.
Have you guys watched BoJack Horseman on Netflix?
Oh, not yet.
I've heard it's really
Not
good.
yet either.
Yeah.
It is a really good show. But there's like one joke that me and my wife always talk about whenever AI comes up, which is that like the main character BoJack, he's like a movie star, but he's very unreliable. So they do like a body scan of him on set, and he like goes off and does like some zany stuff and comes back like a season later, and he's like, "All right, I'm ready to finish the movie." And he's like, they're like, "What are you talking about? We finished the movie without you." And they just used his like 3D model and generated his voice and everything. Like, it's similar to what you're talking about here.
Yeah.
I feel like that's gonna happen.
Oh dear.
Kind of Chris is optimistic. I don't know. I'm not so. Hopefully it works out. But.
I just think, like, even in education terms, you think your kids coming up and they are going to be trained in how to use it. It's a bit like when the internet, you know, when it was kind of my generation was coming through, it was the advent of the internet. It was going to ruin all kind of learning, teaching, all the rest of it. But what it did was accelerate learning. You know, it accelerated the process learning and actually give you access to data. Like my wife came home about 5 years ago and says, "I've got a set of encyclopedias." And I went, how useless are a set of encyclopedias in today's world? Like, honestly, this small crumb of information, when I have in my hands something that I can even speak to and say, "Can you find out all about this?" You know, it's a very different data model in terms of us as humans as being able to do it, and we kind of use it in a new way, and our kids especially will be very aware of it and use it in that way. Certainly for what we think of like classic assignments and all the training that we did in school. They're not doing that form of assessment anymore, I can tell you now, because that's exactly the conversation I'm having at work. Is like, see all that write an essay on here's a topic, it's dead. Like, what is the point? I can generate you an answer of 3,000 words in about 35 seconds if you want, and it'll be passable at the very least. And for most of my life anyway, passable was all right.
Yeah. My son told me they actually, for an April Fool's joke, all gave Chat GPT prompts for their essays that they had to turn in, and then like they had an entire class turn in AI generated essays for and they were kind of nutty essays.
I tip my cap to that.
Yeah,
that'll teach them.
Yeah, I think kids now, like they're very I don't know, like my kids are very savvy about it and kind of cynical too, even, which is a little bit scary when you're looking at, but I guess when you're teenagers, that's a thing. But yeah, so I think, I don't know, I have confidence that as these things develop, the generation coming up with kids now, they'll interrogate it, you know.
Yeah.
They don't just have things dumped on them. They try to figure them out and figure out where they're coming from, and then use them in a way that makes sense. Like they're not being taken advantage of, kind of, I guess, by it.
To your point earlier about having a voice, like you find an author's voice, and we all have our own voice in whatever way it is. I've had a few employees at work. They generally sound like this. They'll bring something to me and say, "Hey, we found this problem." I say, "Well, can you put it in an email so everyone's aware of it?" You know, because we all work different hours and days. And I get this really weird, awkward email like, "Hello, gents," and I'm like, "You didn't write this. Like, where is this from?" It's like, just write the damn email. Like, it doesn't. It's like take you like 2 minutes. Knock it off. So it is there. It is. It has a ways to go, but there is like this awkward feel to it. You know, like it's just, you can know that it's not quite right. Something's off with this.
I read an article. I can't remember where it was. Maybe it was on Vox. No, that's not right. I can't remember where it was. But a journalist decided to let an AI kind of rule his life for a couple of days. Like he asked it to make a schedule, and then it would like write his text for him, and by the end he was like, it's it would forget that he needed to eat. It would like send these weird texts to his wife about it. Would like schedule in like 4 hours of self-care, and he's like, well, when do I work? And it was because it was like it was bringing in every crazy thing off the internet, and it was funny. I wish I remember the name of the article.
Imagine if it worked the other way though. Like, I've never been more popular. My marriage is gone. I've got this new partner, and I'm like, yeah, I've lost 20 pounds. I'm like,
AI changed my life.
yeah.
You can change your life too. Yeah. It's an interesting time for sure. See which direction it goes, but yeah, see how it goes. The time always flies on these Friday nights, but I want to thank all of you for taking some time out of your Friday evening, or Chris, in your case, Saturday morning, to
best time of the week for me.
Yeah. But before we go, can all of you tell us where to find you, or your channels, or your books, or your work? Christopher, can you kick us off with the best place to find you?
Yeah, absolutely. My channel is by my same name, Christopher Navo. The ad is cnavo. The next chapter. I'm also on a lot of the popular content creator Discord channels for a lot of the, especially the indie author ones like Keymark and the Indie Accords. I'm on there as well. And on Instagram and Goodreads as well too. So I don't really use Goodreads as a review system, but I do pop in one in there once in a while, just for if a self-publisher asks me to, or self-author asks me to, then I'll do that. But yeah.
Yes. Really quickly, Josh, before I just want to read Matt's comment, because that was interesting. Matt comments, and the best reading setup ever, by the way, too. Matt's a genius. I work as a chief of staff for a politician and was told the 10-minute speech I wrote had to be trimmed to 5 minutes within a short time. AI made that thing way better than the 10-minute version. I'm sorry, Joshua. Go ahead. Where can we find you?
It's interesting. So I have a newsletter at joshse.com. Go there. There's a subscribe button. If you subscribe, I'll send you a free copy of the ebook of An Ocean of Others, which is also available now on Kindle and audiobook, only on Audible. And I guess other than that, I'm mostly active just on Twitter at Josh S. Edwards.
Nice. And Chris?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Chris Mohan, Mohan. You can find me on Steve's channel quite regularly as well, and on the Patreon forums.
Yeah. I hog a lot of Chris's time. Yeah, for sure.
I'm a lucky man.
Yeah. And Angela?
I have a website at angelaboord.com, and I do write a monthly newsletter you can sign up for there. Otherwise, I'm pretty much just on Twitter right now, and I'm trying to finish the sequel to Fortune's Fool, so I'm not around a whole lot, but I'm Angela Boord there. And my books, Fortune's Fool, and Through Dreams So Dark, and Smuggler's Fortune actually is in the Tyrian Empire series too. They're all available on Amazon. Fortune's Fool actually is on audio as well.
Oh,
so
okay,
and it's
nice.
wide on audio, so you can find it wherever you get your audio.
Very nice. And just want to remind everyone that newsletters are important, so be sure to sign up for newsletters. With these platforms, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow, so it's important to stay in touch and authors' newsletters. And all those links are in the description for everyone to find, so be sure to grab that. But thanks to all of you. I know you're all busy, so I really appreciate all of you taking the time to just come and talk about the end of the world. AI taking over.
This is so much fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But
thank you.
Good time.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And best luck to Angela and Josh in the SPFBO.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good luck,
Yes.
guys.
May your reviews be plentiful and great.
Yeah. We'll keep our fingers crossed for both of you for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But thanks everyone for coming by, for interacting. It's always great when we have interactions, and I really appreciate all of you watching and hanging out. And hope everyone has a fantastic weekend, and we will see everyone very soon.
Take care. Bye.
See you guys.